if you guys want, you can let me know who you have available on the Nascent, and you can do that by actually loading it into the My Heroes and then using the Nascent calculator, but you can write it out. You can let me know in the comments, and I'll try to go through as many as possible and tell you just quick yes or no. You can say, should I pull on the Nascent? This is who my options are, and I'll say whether I think it's a yes or no. How the heck are you, everybody? I am Fastidious. Welcome to my channel, and welcome to this week's edition of Should You Summon? So typically, I put out my Should You Summon content on Thursdays, not on Fridays. And as you can see, actually, at the time of filming, already we have the Zarus and Nyx banner for both special divine summoning, so your gold legendary divine summons, and then your blue rare summons here with the special invocation of spirits. We have both of those live. However, when there's a bigger, most important banner, I do like to do it the day before. And as you can see, we're getting, I believe it's the 5th Nascent banner ever, and that will be tomorrow. So I wanted to make sure I got this before that banner, but right before, so everyone had time to take it in and be ready. So maybe you're watching this the day of the Nascent. Let me know if so in the comments. Also, let me know if you already summoned for Zarus and Nyx. If so, I do apologize if you're waiting on the video. It came out a little late. I've been traveling. I had to fly across the country, so I'm in New York right now. I'm doing my best. We'll talk about Zarus and Nyx, but I do want to start off talking about the Nascent banner. So what is a Nascent banner? Maybe you're new to Watcher of Realms, or maybe you just don't remember, I don't know, or you haven't paid attention to it in the past. Well, essentially, during the Nascent summoning event, the first legendary hero you summon on this banner, just the first one, it can only happen one time, it is guaranteed to be one that you've never pulled before. So the pool of those heroes that it can be, the pool that the new hero is drawn from, is anything that can be pulled from a rare summon or a divine summon. It's the same pool, right? I call this the normal pool. So these are not your event exclusives. These are not your 200 limited exclusives. These are not your ancient summoning exclusives. These are the ones that if you go to any normal rare banner, blue summoning banner, or gold summoning banner, you go to details, it is this pool of heroes. These 7 legendary lords plus Ajax, aka Ajax, and then these, let's actually count because I haven't counted in a while. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 61, right? 15 rows, 4 columns, then 1 Malvira on the bottom. So there's 61 normal legendaries, and then we have our 7 legendary lords and our Ajax. So there's 69. Love it. There we go. So historically, I would advocate heavily, and I still will do this lightly, but not as heavily as normal. I would advocate heavily for you guys to make good use out of my website. We've got a lot of amazing 100% free resources, but specifically this tool, the Nascent Banner Calculator. So how do you access this? You're on my website, fastidious.gg, best website in the realm. You click on tools, and then you can go over here, and you will see this question mark, the Nascent Banner. So why am I saying it's still a great tool, but not as good as it used to be? Well, I'm quite convinced they have normalized the rates among rarity buckets. So when I say rarity buckets, let's open the game back up. Here's one rarity bucket. This is the normal legendary lord bucket. So it's the 7 normal lords, the non-ancients, plus Ajax. And then we have the normal legendary bucket. So the rarity in question here is legendary. The rarity in question here is legendary lord. They lump Ajax in with the legendary lords because they like to do that and be annoying. But yeah. Why wasn't it always like this? Well, we have definitive proof from the game file and millions of summons I have counted across different studies showing that even within one rarity bucket, there was further delineation or grouping, further bucketing of odds. So you'll have your rare bucket normal legendaries and your normal bucket normal legendaries, and even Hotsit, wherever her name's hiding, it's not alphabetical, there it is. Hotsit was in what we call the ultra rare normal bucket. For normal legendaries, I should say. So she was at the lowest weight. So the way you calculate these, and we've done a lot of studies, and we actually had direct access to the game file as of, I guess at this point, about a year ago was the last time we had hard game file access. But you can see there's like a weight. So I calculate this weight by taking the rarest of the buckets. So this is the rare legendary lord bucket. It was just Leia and Morrigan. I reduce their weight. I normalize it to 1, and I have every other weight scale off of that. So why do I say I normalize it? The actual weights are like 8.87, and then this one's like 8.96, and then it's, goes all the way up to like 20.3567, whatever. So it's easier if you just, LCD that, bring it down, So we just make this the 1, and we have everything proportional. So it's all still, in indirect, respective weighting. But you can see, so these guys got a weight of 1. You can see Hot Sit was 38% more likely to be summoned the way it used to be in comparison to Leia and Morgan with a weight of 1.38. However, the crazy thing is the other 5 normal legendaries plus than Ix, so these 6 other heroes, they were 50% more likely to come than Morgan and Leia, and actually Hot Sit was rarer than any of these guys historically. It went on and on. We had 2.75 as the weight, so these guys were, nearly at that point, nearly 3 times more likely to be pulled than a Morgan or Leia. These were the rare bucket legendaries, and it's not pulling one from the group. That's each one of these guys' individual weights. To continue on, then you had your normal common bucket, as I've called it a lot in the past, and these were like the most common. So these guys have weights all the way up to 7, so 7 times more likely to be pulled than a Leia or a Morgan. Again, using that as the base reference. The reason I say maybe it's not as powerful as it used to be is I do believe they flattened the weights. So I actually think there's one big group now. I need more evidence to prove it, or hopefully they're going to release that stuff directly to us as they announced in the dev Q&A. But I believe from Lucius all the way down to Lynx, that is one group now, and they all have equal weights. I can't prove it. I don't have enough data, but just anecdotally it feels that way. And I do believe, and Hot Sit's in there as well. And then I do believe Morgan and Leia have been added to this group here, Ix through Torador, and they've flattened that all out. So that rate actually is whatever it should be. So 0.04% on a non-2x. So let me show you that now. Divided by 8, right? So that is what I think. So I think that would be 0.005%. So you can see this is the normal, this bucket. I think it's just that divided by 8. I really do. And I think this is now 0.46 divided by 69. So, a little less than, I guess that'd be a little less than 0.01% for each one of these. I think that's what happened. However, you can still get a really clear picture by using this tool. So how do you use the Nascent Banner Calculator? Well, let me show you. To get best use out of it, you can just click around and be like, oh, I already have Leia. Let's turn her off so she's not part of the pool. I already have Morgan, blah, 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 blah. Or you can make an amazing use of this tool, My Heroes, which I also suggest you guys do because you can get a special customizable link. You can see I'm copying it there. Then you can head in here and paste it. And actually, this is something you can directly share with your friends, people you meet on Discord, guildmates, if you ever want advice. And this is like, oh, this is exactly who Fastidious has. And you can even add awakenings and stuff. I actually picked up an awakening on my Glacius, so I can add that in there, just for an example. And there you go. So the way this has anything to do with the Nascent Banner Calculator is now my site, and you'll log in and do this, now my site knows who you have, John or Tom or Jimmy or Marsha or I don't know, Big Booty Clapper 69. Shout out to Dr. D's. Now we know who your heroes are. We know what your My Heroes page is. So now if you go to the tool and you go to the Nascent Banner, you can say remove My Heroes from the pool. So why is this relevant to a Nascent Banner? The only heroes that will be left if we remove your heroes or My Heroes from the pool are the ones that are eligible to be pulled from the Nascent Banner. So remember, if you have every single normal legendary and Lord legendary right here in the game, all the non-exclusive ones, then this banner means nothing to you. But even if you're like me, where I'm only missing 3, I click this button, remove My Heroes, and now it's going to give me the actual rates for all these things. So I'm only missing from the Legendary Lords Araka. I have all the rare legendaries at this point. And then from the common, I'm missing Xaris and Lynx. However, like I said, I don't know if common and rare bucket among the normal legendaries is a thing anymore. I actually, from what I've seen, Xaris is just as common as Yuri or Valkyra or Magda, or Virna, Boreas, Comet. It seems like they've really flattened it out. However, you can get a pretty good picture. And the key thing you can do, and once we have more data, I will just fully update all these weights. I just can't do it until we have more data. I'm going to wait for the perfect banner, or frankly, just for Watch of Realms to release the rates like they told me they were going to, and then I'll update it all. But you can see, even though it seems like I have a 1 in 3 chance to get a Raka, let's say I was targeting her, so we have a Raka, Lynx, and Xaris, only 3 options, because her weight is so much lower, and definitely still is, because she's in that Legendary Lord bucket, it's going to be much more likely I'm going to get one of the other 2. So I have a 90.38% chance I'm going to get Xaris or Lynx, and I have a 9.63% chance, let me zoom in a little bit for you guys, that I am going to get a Raka. So actually for me, I'd prefer Xaris over any of these guys. So the banner is somewhat appealing. However, I really don't care about getting Lynx, and I'm not in desperate need of any of these guys, as much as Araka would be kind of cool just for, Pokédex reasons, and as much as I do think Xaris is like stupidly powerful. So that's how you can make good use of this tool, guys. I suggest you do it, but let's actually get back to reality. Should you summon on the Nascent? Well, what I say is load up your My Hero page, remove your heroes from the Nascent tool, and at the very least, you'll have a beautiful visualization of who is remaining. Essentially, you'll get to see this pool as we just did with all the names you already have blacked out. So you can think maybe the Nascent's good for you because you're like, oh my God, I'm missing Ajax and Torador. This is the best Nascent ever. But next thing you know, once you actually go through it, you're like, wait, but I still am also missing Lasir and Sadie and Alora and Orum and Edith and Anai and Kineza. Next thing you know, you actually do the math, whether the weights have been flattened or not. And you're like, oh, it's really unlikely this is going to be worth my time, worth my summons, especially when we should have a limited coming in the next 2 to 4 weeks. So I think it's really important you make that decision for yourself. If you guys want, I can't promise I'll get to every comment. So hopefully you made it this far in the video, or maybe I'll tease this at the beginning. If you guys want, you can let me know who you have available on the Nascent. And you can do that by actually loading it into the My Heroes and then using the Nascent calculator. But you can write it out. You can let me know in the comments, and I'll try to go through as many as possible and tell you just quick yes or no. You can say, should I pull on the Nascent? This is who my options are. And I'll say whether I think it's a yes or no. Simple as that, right? I promise I'll get through at least like 30 of them. So if you want to do that, put it in the comments. All right, so that's the Nascent banner. Frankly, I think you shouldn't go for it unless you pull a lot and you're like a big spender, or it's very obvious, Before this this Nascent, the last Nascent, my Nascent was crazy. Since then, I've pulled Ajax, Venoma, and Lyra. And so imagine what my pool was. And that was before links. So that was like all I had left, right? It was an incredible Nascent banner. My options were Ajax, Araka, Venoma, and then it was Eris, Lyra. I think that's it. I think that was my whole Nascent. And then we pulled Lyra. I think that's how it went down. Honestly, can't remember. But no, I pulled Lyra on a different banner. But when you're in that narrow a pool, that's pretty dang spicy. That's pretty dang exciting. So that's definitely something to consider. It doesn't need to be that, top tier of a pool. But, if you're looking at it and you're like, 3 of the heroes look good, 3 of them look bad, maybe roll the dice. Something like that. But if 2 of them look good and 12 of them look bad, maybe save your summons for another day. What might you save your summons for? Well, let's talk about this banner I've had pulled up for a while here. We've got the Nyx and Zarus banner. This is a crazy banner to discuss given the state of the game because these are 2 very, very good heroes in Watcher of Realms. Zarus is slightly niche, but what he's good at, he is completely and utterly dominant for. So you can cycle him actually in both gear dungeons. He's extremely good in Gear Aid 1. And then in AoE Arena and Anti-Air Arena, he is crazy. You'll reach a point where people can compete with your Zarus, but if you have a strong Zarus, he will carry you to Overlord, assuming you have the gear. So can I get higher without my Zarus? Sure. Is this not this isn't my account right now. Excuse me. Well, shout out to, hey, Arnold. We were just doing an account assessment, but I've got Zarus A2 and I've got awesome gear on him and he slaps. So when I try to go a little higher in Overlord, I might put him out and just go for something more Ingrid heavy. But before I had Ingrid, before I had any Ancient Lords, Zarus got me to Overlord every single week. Zarus is mindlessly easy to use, and he's so powerful. You insta-deploy him, and he deletes everything. If you get him A1, that first insta-deploy, he summons even more initial clones and summons, and it's pretty wild. So that's definitely something to consider. However, who gives a shit about Arena? Mind my language. I don't know. With all the things we know might be coming, a new class, it's even rumored a new faction, and then we know a new limited's coming, or at least another. If it's a rerun, it's still a guarantee. We know that's all coming. Do you go for someone that's so cool like Zarus, but unless you're still in like that mid game and you need to clear a lot of PvE stuff, and not the hard PvE stuff, he's kind of only there for Arena. Maybe you do go for him because maybe you're like, yeah, actually I have beaten the whole game and PvP Arena is super important to me. Make that assessment. Nyx is the best character in the entire game for what she does. Unfortunately, what she does is not that needed in Watcher of Realms. She is the best AoE piercing damage unit in the whole game. Full stop. Including legendary lords and everything, right? Like what Yovar does is like crazy burst, and it's actually single target. If you're talking just pure ridiculous AoE piercing damage, Nyx is the queen. However, there's not much we need that for. She used to, for a moment, be extremely meta in Arena. Now I'd call her off meta to even like off meta. Got my New York show, and I'm thinking Broadway, off Broadway, off Broadway. But she still can be used, and you can still get to Overlord with her. And certainly if you're lower, you can do cool things with her. But she's clunky. You need to generate cost. To get Nyx at full potential, it's an investment. You're going to want at least A3. Not to say she's not good at lower awakenings. I had her at A0 forever, or at A1 forever, and then I recently got her A2. I still don't have her A3, but she's great. You can use her in AoE. You can certainly use her in anti-air. But the main thing for Nyx is like Gear Aid 3 and Furious Torrent. And that's really specific. It's like Gear Aid 3 might sound exciting, but unless you're a new account, anyone can beat 321 without Nyx. Is she the best option? Her or Kai? After Kai's buff, his passive's pretty crazy for progression for 321. But yeah, for the easiest build, it's going to be Nyx. But you can beat it with Maul, you can beat it with Kai, you can beat it obviously with Nyx, you can beat it with Razak. There's so many options. I just think it's hard to get excited about her for that. And then there's Furious Torrent, where she is the single best unit in the game. As long as you have a Legendary Piercer Lord, a well-built Nyx should carry you at least to double S. The second I pulled Yovar, my Nyx numbers shot to like 150 million, and I got triple S. You guys will see that video soon. I already filmed it whenever I have time to post it. So it's all about priorities. So if you're like, hey, I just want to beat all the PvE content in the game, and I haven't beaten Furious Torrent, you're going to want to grab Nyx. Like if I didn't have Nyx, I would be pulling on it. But for other stuff, I just think these guys are as powerful and uniquely strong as they are for the things they're good at. I don't think they're that level of special as if they were running a Hex banner or an Arrogance banner or a Twyla banner, something like that for what we're trying to do in the game right now. The harder stuff just keeps being bosses. Both these guys are going to suck against bosses. So it really comes down to, if you're really early on and you don't have either of these, definitely pull. Because, I mean, Baron's good too. Lily's great too. Helena sucks. But these can both help you in a big way if you've not yet beaten all the gear raids and stuff like that, right? If you're later on and you've got a bunch saved and you're not worrying about min-maxing efficiency for summons and you want to have a slight PvP focus, or maybe you care a little bit about Furious Torrent, then you can pull on this banner. Aside from that, you know, I guess I should mention, you can also use Nyx to some pretty cool effect, especially with High Awakenings and an exclusive artifact in Guild Wars Defense. But for me, it's such a hard skip. As much as I'm tempted and I want that A3 Nyx, it's just such a hard skip. So it really comes down to, are you a big spender? Can you afford to do this even if they throw something amazing at us in another week or 2 or 3 or 4, especially whatever limited is coming? And then what are your priorities in the game? I hope I gave you enough to chew on here, guys. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch my video. Slightly more relaxed style, I do believe, because I knew I wouldn't have time to edit this because it's crazy being back in New York. Shout out to everyone from New York. If you're from New York, sound off in the comments. I'm about to head to Brooklyn. I'm meeting my brother at a tattoo studio. Oh, Fastidious. Why are you meeting a tattoo artist at a tattoo studio? I don't know. Maybe it's time, baby. Maybe it's time. Are we scheduling something for Monday afternoon? I don't know. Stay tuned. Thank you for watching. This has been an episode of Should You Summon? Let me know any questions you have in the comments. And if you want my opinion on if you should go for the Nascent or not, I'm just going to give you a clear yes or no. You let me know. I've been Fastidious. Share it with your mother, and we'll see you real soon. Bye.